The emptiness mocks me from inside the weathered mahogany box. My husband's Patek Philippe watch, the one thing of his I couldn't bear to part with, is gone. My fingers trace the indentation in the velvet lining where it rested for 3 years since Will's death, still holding the shape of his most treasured possession. The watch his father placed in his palm on our wedding day, saying, "A Patek Philippe is never truly owned. It's merely looked after for the next generation." I sit on the edge of my bed, the Vermont morning light filtering through curtains Will and I picked out 30 years ago. Outside, spring pushes through the last stubborn patches of snow. But in here, winter has returned. My throat tightens as I run my fingers over the empty space again, as if my touch might conjure the watch back into existence. "Mom, you coming down for breakfast?" Jenna's voice floats up from downstairs, casual and light, completely at odds with the hollowness spreading through my chest. I close the box with a soft click and make my way downstairs, each step heavier than the last. At 68, my knees protest more than they used to, but today they seem to carry the weight of my suspicion. I've noticed things missing before, small amounts from my checking account, a silver frame, my mother's pearl earrings. I always said nothing, made excuses in my mind. But Will's watch? That I cannot ignore. Jenna is at the kitchen table scrolling through her phone, a half-eaten bagel on her plate. Sunlight catches on her new highlights, expensive ones I can tell, and glints off the designer sunglasses pushed up on her head. My daughter has always had expensive taste, even when her teacher's salary couldn't support it. Now, at 42, divorced with a 17-year-old daughter of her own, those tastes seem only to have grown. "Did you take your father's watch?" I ask without preamble, my voice steadier than I feel. Jenna doesn't look up immediately. When she does, there's a flash of something, guilt, defiance, before she shrugs. "Yeah, sold it." The air leaves my lungs, just like that. "You what?" "I sold it, Mom." She takes a bite of bagel, chews slowly. "I needed the money." For what?" My voice comes out as a whisper. "Cancun. 2 weeks. Marcus surprised me with tickets, but I need spending money." She says it like she's telling me she bought milk. Marcus, her newest boyfriend, the real estate broker with the too white smile. 3 months of dating, and she's stealing family heirlooms for him. "That watch was your father's, his father's before that." My words seem to come from somewhere far away. "You had no right." "It's just a watch, Mom." Jenna cuts me off, rolling her eyes. "An old one. Dad's been gone 3 years. You need to move on." The casual cruelty in her tone stuns me into silence. My bookish, sensitive little girl who once cried over wounded birds, how did she become this stranger who could dismiss her father's memory so easily? "Where did you sell it?" I finally manage. "O'Brien's pawn on Main." She glances at her watch, a sleek new thing on her wrist. "Gotta run. Meeting Marcus for brunch." She stands, gathering her things. "Don't make this a big deal, okay? It was just sitting in that box. At least now it's being useful." She kisses my cheek, leaves a smear of expensive lipstick, and is gone before I can form a response. The front door closes with a cheerful slam, leaving me alone in the kitchen, clutching the edge of the table. Useful. As if the last physical connection to my husband of 45 years should be measured by its utility. I don't remember deciding to go, but an hour later, I'm parking outside O'Brien's pawn shop, my hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel. The storefront is wedged between a laundromat and a discount shoe store, with bars on the windows and a flickering neon open sign. Inside, the air smells of old metal and desperation. "Mrs. Sullivan!" Patrick O'Brien greets me from behind the counter. His father and Will played poker together. Patrick was at Will's funeral. The shame burns hotter, knowing that he recognized the watch, knew it was Will's, when my daughter brought it in to sell. "Patrick," I straighten my shoulders. "My daughter brought in a watch, a Patek Philippe. It was my husband's." His expression shifts, something unreadable crossing his face. "Yes, ma'am. She did. I'd like to buy it back." Patrick hesitates, then reaches under the counter. "That's why I called your house this morning." "You didn't get my message?" He places a small envelope on the counter. "I found something strange when I was authenticating the watch." "Strange?" My heart quickens. "The watch has a false back. There was something hidden inside." He slides the envelope toward me. A small key and an address, 1847 Maple Grove Road, Stowe. I stare at the envelope. "Stowe? That's nearly an hour from here." "Yes, ma'am." Patrick lowers his voice. "Mrs. Sullivan, Lauren, I I haven't sold the watch yet. I wanted to give you a chance to... He trails off, clearly uncomfortable. To what? My voice sounds thin, even to my own ears. To find out what your husband was hiding. His eyes are kind, concerned. The key looks like it might open a safe deposit box, or a small lock of some kind. I take the envelope with trembling fingers, feel the outline of the tiny key inside. In 45 years of marriage, I thought I knew every inch of Will Sullivan. What secret was worth hiding inside a family heirloom? How much to buy back the watch? I ask. Patrick names a figure that makes my stomach drop. 3 months of my pension. The irony doesn't escape me. Having to buy back what was already mine, what should never have left our home. I'll need a day, I say, to get the money. Patrick nods. I'll hold it for you. Outside, sitting in my car, I open the envelope. The key is small, golden, antique-looking, and on a slip of paper, in Will's precise engineer's handwriting, 1847, Maple Grove Road, Stowe, a place I've never heard of, a cabin my husband of 45 years never mentioned, a secret locked away in the watch he wore every day of our married life. My hands grip the steering wheel as I make a decision. Before I return for the watch, I need to see what's waiting at that address, what Will left behind, what he kept from me all these years. The drive to Stowe feels like crossing into another world. I've lived in Vermont my entire adult life, but today the familiar landscape seems charged with mystery. The mountains rise around me, guardians of secrets I never knew needed keeping. My GPS leads me deeper into the woods, away from the tourist areas and ski resorts. The road narrows, transitions from pavement to gravel. Maple trees form a cathedral overhead, their new spring leaves a delicate green canopy. You have reached your destination, announces the robotic voice. But there's nothing here, just trees and undergrowth. I pull over, my tires crunching on last year's leaves. Have I been sent on a fool's errand? Was the address some kind of joke? Then I see it, a narrow dirt path, barely visible, leading deeper into the woods. I get out of my car, wrapping my cardigan tighter against the spring chill. My sensible shoes sink slightly in the soft earth as I make my way forward. After about 50 yards, the trees open up, and I stop short. There, nestled in a small clearing, stands a cabin. Nothing fancy, just a simple structure of weathered wood with a small porch, a stone chimney, and windows with faded green shutters. It looks maintained, not abandoned. Will, I whisper. What did you do? My heart pounds as I approach. There's a neat woodpile along one side, covered with a tarp. A pair of muddy boots sits by the door, as if their owner might return any moment to claim them. My Will, methodical, predictable Will, had a secret place all these years? The wooden steps creak under my weight. I stand before the door, key in hand. It seems too small for this lock, but when I try it, it slides in perfectly. One turn, and the door swings open on well-oiled hinges. The smell hits me first, Will's sandalwood aftershave, fainter but unmistakable. He was here, recently. But that's impossible. Will died 3 years ago. I step inside. The cabin is small but tidy. A main room with a stone fireplace, a kitchenette, a door that presumably leads to a bedroom. Bookshelves line one wall, filled with volumes I recognize from Will's collection. Engineering journals, poetry, philosophy, books I thought he'd donated before his death. On the mantel, photos. Us on our wedding day, Jenna's graduation, our granddaughter Allie's birth. All the same photos we have at home, duplicates kept here in this secret place. I sink into a worn leather chair. Will's reading chair, I realize with a jolt. The twin of the one we had at home. The one I gave away because I couldn't bear to see it empty every evening. Why, Will? My voice sounds hollow in the quiet cabin. Why hide this place from me? I notice something odd about the fireplace. The stones don't quite line up on one side. I approach, run my fingers along the seam, and feel a slight give. A hidden compartment. The small golden key fits another, tinier keyhole I almost missed. Inside, a metal box. My hands tremble as I lift it out. It's heavier than I expected. Inside, I find a stack of envelopes, each sealed and dated. 43 of them, each addressed to me in Will's familiar handwriting. I open the first one. My dearest Lauren, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I've always suspected my heart would give out earlier than your stubborn one. The doctor gave me the news last month. I might have 5 years if I'm lucky. I'm 63 now, So that takes me to 68. We always talked about having 50 years together. I'm sorry we'll only get 45. I couldn't bear to tell you. Couldn't stand to see the worry in your eyes, the pity. So I made a plan instead. This cabin will be my project, my secret. And these letters, one for each year you might live after I'm gone, will be my way of staying with you. The first envelope contains this letter. The others contain my words for you. One letter for each birthday, until you're 98. I hope you'll read them in order. Let me keep being part of your journey even when I'm not physically beside you. There's another envelope here, one for Jenna, and documents you'll need. I've made arrangements, Lauren. You'll be taken care of. But there are conditions. I know our daughter. I've watched her grow more distant, more entitled. The money won't just be handed to her. She needs to learn what really matters. I love you beyond measure. I'm sorry for keeping secrets. This was the only way I could bear it. Forever yours, Will. I pressed the letter to my chest, tears flowing freely. Will knew. He knew he was dying and carried that burden alone, protecting me until the end. With shaking hands, I opened the thick manila envelope marked legal. Inside are documents from Brighton Trust Bank. My eyes widen as I read the figures. $6 million. My practical, frugal husband somehow amassed $6 million from patents on his engineering designs, according to these papers. But the next document makes me gasp. The trust has conditions. The money will only be released to Jenna if she completes 30 days of volunteer work at a nursing home or senior living facility. Documented, verified volunteer work. I almost laugh through my tears. Oh, Will, even in death, still trying to teach our daughter the values she's forgotten. The last item in the box is a sealed envelope with Jenna's name. I hold it, feeling its weight. Whatever message Will left for our daughter, it's not for my eyes. I sit back in his chair, surrounded by pieces of my husband I never knew existed. 43 letters, a fortune with strings attached, a cabin in the woods where he came to, what? Prepare for death? Plan his legacy? The sunlight is fading. I should head back before dark, but a plan is forming in my mind, one that makes my heart race with equal parts fear and determination. Will left a roadmap, not just for making sure we're financially secure, but for helping Jenna find her way back to the person she was meant to be. And I know exactly what I need to do. First, I'll tell Jenna I need to sell the house. Medical bills, I'll say. Will's treatments left us in debt. I'll tell her I've found a place at Sunset Gardens, the assisted living facility on the edge of town. Then I'll make a call to the administrator there, Dorothy Winters, my former student. I'll need her help with what comes next. I gather the letters, the documents, Jenna's sealed envelope. Tomorrow, I'll go back for Will's watch, and then I'll set Will's plan in motion. As I lock the cabin door, I whisper to the gathering darkness, I won't let you down, my love. Not this time. You're doing what? Jenna stares at me across the kitchen table, coffee mug frozen halfway to her lips. Her perfect blowout frames a face contorted with disbelief. Selling the house. I keep my voice matter-of-fact as I slide the real estate listing agreement toward her. Will's medical bills caught up with me. I can't afford to keep it anymore. But this is our home. Where will you go? Sunset Gardens. I busy myself wiping non-existent crumbs from the table. They have an opening next month. The old folks' home? Jenna sets her mug down with a thud. Coffee sloshes over the rim. Mom, those places are depressing. You can't be serious. I don't have a choice. I look up, meeting her eyes. Unless you have a spare room at your place? The flash of panic on her face would be comical if it weren't so painful to witness. My daughter, who once built blanket forts in my living room and begged me to let her strays sleep inside during storms, visibly recoils at the thought of making space for me in her life. My condo is tiny, Mom. And with Allie, she trails off, not bothering to complete the excuse. What about Dad's retirement fund? His life insurance? Gone. I push away the twinge of guilt at the lie. Between the hospital stays, the specialists, the medications insurance wouldn't cover. There's nothing left. Jenna slumps back in her chair. I see calculations happening behind her eyes, how this affects her, what inconveniences might ripple into her carefully curated life. What about the money from Dad's watch? She asks finally. The question lands like a slap. That money, I say carefully, keeping my voice steady, bought groceries last month. I don't tell her that I spent my own savings to redeem Will's watch from O'Brien's. Don't tell her that it's now safely tucked away in the cabin, along with the letters and documents. Some secrets, I'm learning, are necessary. There must be some other option, Jenna insists, already reaching for her phone. What about reverse mortgages or, "It's done, Jenna." I stand, gathering our mugs. The house goes on the market next week. I move to Sunset Gardens on the 1st. And how exactly will you afford that place? Those aren't cheap either. They have a subsidized program for low-income seniors. Another careful lie. Dorothy Winters runs it now. She was my student, remember? She's helping me. Jenna's shoulders slump. She looks around our kitchen. The wallpaper Will and I chose 30 years ago. The marks on the doorframe tracking her growth. The window over the sink where we watched countless seasons change. For a moment, I see a flicker of the daughter I used to know. The one who understood value beyond price tags. Then her phone buzzes. She glances at the screen, and her expression brightens. "Marcus," she explains, already texting back. "Weren't you just in Cancun with him?" I ask, unable to keep the edge from my voice. "That was 2 weeks ago, Mom." She rolls her eyes. "We're looking at properties in Stowe this weekend. He thinks I'd be good in real estate." Stowe. My heart skips a beat. Is that so? The market there is insane. People buying second homes, vacation properties. Her fingers fly over the screen. Marcus says I have the perfect personality for sales. I'll bet he does. I've met Marcus once, all veneered teeth and practiced charm, looking at my daughter like she's another property to flip. "Anyway," Jenna continues, standing to leave, "I'm sure it won't come to you actually moving into that place. We'll figure something out." She kisses my cheek, the gesture as perfunctory as a handshake. "Gotta run. Love you." And she's gone, leaving me alone in the kitchen where I raised her, taught her to bake cookies, bandaged her skinned knees, where Will and I had our quiet conversations after she went to bed, planning for her future, worrying over her setbacks, celebrating her victories. I lean against the counter, momentarily overwhelmed by doubt. Am I doing the right thing? The deception feels foreign, uncomfortable. I've always valued honesty. But then I remember Will's letters, his careful planning, the condition that might save our daughter from herself. The phone rings, jarring me from my thoughts. "Lauren? It's Dorothy. I've got everything set up on our end." My former student, now in her 50s and running Sunset Gardens with compassionate efficiency, sounds confident. "Are you sure about this?" "I am." I straighten my shoulders. "Did you speak with Dr. Mitchell?" "Yes. She's agreed to list you as a resident under the name Lauren Wilson. We'll keep your real identity between us and the minimum necessary staff. And the volunteer position for Jenna? Ready whenever she is. We've created quite the convincing backstory about our desperate need for help in the recreation department. I'll make the call to her tomorrow." I close my eyes, picturing the next steps. "Thank you, Dorothy. I know this is unorthodox. Mrs. Sullivan, you got me through senior year English when I thought I'd never graduate. I'd help you bury a body if you asked." She pauses, though I draw the line at actual felonies. I laugh, the sound strange in my empty kitchen. No felonies, just a mother trying to reach her daughter. After we hang up, I sit at the table, planning my next moves. The house will indeed go on the market. I've already spoken with a realtor, asked her to delay actual showings for 2 months. Long enough for Will's plan to unfold. I'll pack as if I'm downsizing for Sunset Gardens. I'll play the part of a financially desperate widow. And then, I'll watch as Jenna faces the consequences of her actions and the opportunity for redemption her father arranged from beyond the grave. My phone pings with a text message from Dorothy. "Operation Prodigal Daughter is a go. The board approved your financial hardship application. Your room will be ready next Tuesday." I text back a simple thank you before heading upstairs to begin sorting through 45 years of marriage, deciding what to store at the cabin, what to take to Sunset Gardens, what to let go. In our bedroom, I open Will's side of the closet. His clothes are long gone, donated after his death, but I kept his wooden valet box on his nightstand. I open it now, place his Patek Philippe inside, and close the lid. "We're doing this, Will," I whisper to the empty room. "I hope you were right about her." That night, I dream of the cabin in the woods. In the dream, Will is there, sitting in his leather chair by the fire, reading one of his engineering journals. He looks up as I enter, smiles that half smile that always made my heart flutter, even after decades together. "It's all there in the watch, Lauren," Dream Will says. "Time reveals everything eventually." I wake before dawn, the dream clinging to me like morning mist. Outside my window, the maple tree Will planted when we first bought this house stands sentinel, its new leaves whispering in the pre-dawn breeze. In 1 week, I'll leave this house, perhaps forever. But I'm not afraid. For the first time since Will's death, I feel him beside me again, guiding me, partnering with me one last time to save the daughter we both love. The smell hits me first, antiseptic layered over old cooking, and something else distinctly institutional. Sunset Gardens looks pleasant enough from the outside. Brick facade, neat landscaping, large windows letting in Vermont sunshine. But inside, it's unmistakably a place where people come to finish their lives. "Your room is on the east wing, Mrs. Wilson," says Nancy, a nurse with kind eyes and efficiency in her movements. She doesn't look at me with the recognition I feared. Dorothy has kept her word about my alias. "You'll have a roommate, Mrs. Abernathy. She's been with us for 3 years." I follow her down a corridor where residents in wheelchairs line the walls like forgotten parcels. Some stare vacantly. Others track our movement with sharp eyes that belie their frail bodies. A man with an oxygen tank nods as we pass, and I find myself nodding back, already accepting my place among them. My room is small but clean. 2 narrow beds, 2 nightstands, 2 dressers. Mrs. Abernathy's side is personalized with family photos, a crocheted blanket, a small television. My side is bare, institutional beige walls waiting for a life to animate them. "Bathrooms shared," Nancy explains, showing me the narrow door between our beds. "Dinners at 5:30, activities in the common room at 2 wows, doctor visits on Tuesdays." She hands me a plastic bracelet. "Wear this at all times. It has your information and alerts us if you leave the building." Like a prisoner, I think, slipping it over my wrist. "Questions?" Nancy asks. I shake my head, suddenly unable to speak. "This is real. I'm really doing this." "I'll leave you to settle in," she says, patting my arm. "Mrs. Abernathy should be back from physical therapy soon." When she's gone, I sink onto the thin mattress, my heart pounding. For a moment, doubt floods me. Have I gone too far? Created an elaborate charade that will backfire spectacularly? But then I remember Jenna's casual cruelty. "It's just a watch, Mom." The way she dismissed 45 years of marriage, of history, of connection. The inheritance she doesn't deserve, but might yet earn. I unpack methodically. Clothes in the dresser, toiletries in the bathroom, a few books on the nightstand, the framed photo of Will and me on our 40th anniversary, his arm around my waist, both of us gray but standing tall, smiling with the ease of people who know they are exactly where they should be. "You must be my new roomie." I turn to find a tiny woman with a cloud of white hair and bright blue eyes watching me from a wheelchair in the doorway. Despite her age, at least 85, there's a sharpness to her gaze that makes me straighten my posture. "Eleanor Abernathy," she says, wheeling herself into the room. "They tell me you're Lauren Wilson, but your eyes say that's not quite right." My carefully constructed plan trembles at its foundation. Don't bother explaining." She waves a dismissive hand. "Everyone here has secrets. Some can't remember their own names. Others are reinventing themselves for their final act." She peers at me. "You don't look ready for your final act." I manage a smile. "I'm not planning on it being final." Good answer. She wheels to her dresser, opens a drawer, and pulls out a chocolate bar. "Contraband," she explains with a wink. "My grandson smuggles them in. Want some?" And just like that, I have an ally. Over the next few days, I settle into the rhythms of Sunset Gardens. Wake at 6:30 to medication rounds, whether you need them or not. Breakfast at 7:45, oatmeal or eggs, always slightly overcooked. Morning activities, bingo, crafts, gentle chair yoga led by a relentlessly cheerful woman named Trish. Lunch at noon. Afternoon free time or more structured activities. Dinner at 5:30. Television in the common room until 9 war lights out. I observe the staff, overworked but mostly kind. I watch the residents, some engaged with life, others merely existing, waiting. I listen to Eleanor's stories about her 3 husbands, the first for money, the second for passion, the third for companionship. I recommend that order. And her unfiltered assessments of everyone around us. And I wait for Jenna. She arrives on my 4th day, parking her BMW in a visitor spot, visible from my window. I watch her check her reflection in the rearview mirror, smooth her hair, then sit for a long moment as if gathering courage. When she finally emerges, her face is a mask of determined cheerfulness that doesn't reach her eyes. I hurry from my window to the dining hall, where I've arranged with Dorothy to be serving lunch, hairnet, apron, and all. I keep my head down as Jenna approaches the reception desk, asking for me. "I'm here to see my mother, Lauren Sullivan. I was told she moved in last week." The receptionist, briefed by Dorothy, looks confused. "I'm sorry, we don't have anyone by that name." "That's impossible. Sunset Gardens, Lauren Sullivan, my mother." Let me check again. Keys click as she makes a show of searching the system. "No, I'm sorry. No Sullivan. Look, I know she's here. She told me herself. 68 years old, gray hair, about 5'6". Oh, recognition dawns on the receptionist's face. "You might mean Lauren Wilson? She's new, came in Tuesday." "Wilson? No, Sullivan. Lauren Sullivan." I busy myself ladling soup, keeping my back to the entrance, but I can hear the rising frustration in Jenna's voice. This wasn't part of the plan, the name confusion, but it's an effective complication. "Miss?" The receptionist calls to me. "You've been helping in the dining room. Do we have a Lauren Sullivan here?" I turn slowly, lock eyes with my daughter. For a moment she doesn't recognize me in my hairnet and institutional apron. Then shock registers on her face. "Mom?" I wipe my hands on the apron. "Jenna, what a surprise. What are you doing? And why are they calling you Wilson?" "My maiden name," I say, the lie coming easily now. "There was a mix-up with the paperwork." Jenna looks around the dining hall, at the residents being helped to their seats, at the institutional trays, at the aides patiently cutting food into bite-sized pieces for those who can no longer manage it themselves. Horror dawns on her face. "You're really staying here? This wasn't just some negotiating tactic?" "The house sold," I tell her. Another careful lie. I had nowhere else to go. "But serving food? In a hairnet? Mom, this is my way of reducing my fees," I interrupt. "If I help around here, they discount my stay. Every little bit helps." The dismay on her face is genuine. For all her flaws, Jenna never imagined her mother in such reduced circumstances. I see her struggling to reconcile the comfortable life she thought I had with this new reality. "Oh my God," she whispers. "This is because of the watch, isn't it? What I took from you." "Mom, Miss Carlson?" Dorothy appears beside us, immaculate in her administrator's blazer. "I'm Dorothy Winters, the director here. May I have a word?" Jenna follows Dorothy in a daze, looking back at me with an expression I haven't seen since she was a child who realized she'd done something truly wrong. Not just broken a rule, but hurt someone she loved. I return to ladling soup, my heart pounding beneath my calm exterior. Phase 1 complete. Jenna has seen where her actions have led. Now for Phase 2, Will's condition for her inheritance. Eleanor wheels up beside me, holding out her tray for soup. "That's her, isn't it? The daughter who sold your husband's watch?" I nod, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. "Good," Eleanor says with surprising fierceness. "Let her see how the other half lives. My son didn't visit for 2 years until I pretended to forget his name. Sometimes they need to be reminded we're still here." I ladle soup into her bowl, a silent solidarity between two women who understand what it means to become invisible with age. "She'll be back," Eleanor predicts, wheeling away with her tray. "The guilty ones always come back." "I can't believe you're making me do this," Jenna hisses, struggling with the clasp of her volunteer badge. We stand in the narrow staff locker room, where she's changing from her designer blouse into the baby blue polo that marks Sunset Gardens volunteers. "I'm not making you do anything," I remind her, adjusting my own name tag. "Dorothy offered you the position. You accepted. Because she told me it was the only way they'd keep giving you the reduced rate. What was I supposed to do?" I say nothing, simply hand her a clipboard with the day's schedule. 30 days. That's what Will specified. 30 days of service before the trust would release the funds. Funds Jenna still knows nothing about. "Recreation assistant," Jenna reads from her badge with distaste. "What does that even mean?" "It means you help with activities, games, music, getting residents to and from the common areas." I check my watch, Will's watch, which I now wear concealed beneath the sleeve of my sweater. "Music therapy starts in 10 minutes. We should hurry." "We? You're not actually working here, Mom. You're a resident." I help out. I head for the door. It gives me purpose. The look she gives me is equal parts confusion and frustration. My daughter has spent 3 years avoiding the reality of aging, of loss. Now she's surrounded by it. Music therapy is led by a young man named Carlos with gentle eyes and a guitar worn smooth from use. Residents sit in a semicircle, some alert and engaged, others nodding off despite the upbeat folk songs. I help Mrs. Patel adjust her hearing aid, whisper encouragement to Mr. Dawson, who thinks he's too old to sing. Jenna stands awkwardly at the edge of the room until Carlos calls her over. "You must be our new volunteer. Great. Can you help pass out these tambourines and maracas?" I watch as she reluctantly distributes instruments, flinching when Mr. Thompson's arthritic hand brushes against hers, stiffening when Mrs. Rodriguez reaches out to touch her beautiful young skin. Discomfort radiates from her like heat. The session progresses, and something unexpected happens. Mr. Dawson, usually silent, begins to sing along to "You Are My Sunshine" in a wavering tenor. Mrs. Rodriguez, who barely speaks since her stroke, shakes her maraca in perfect rhythm. Mr. Thompson, slumped in his wheelchair, straightens when Carlos plays a Johnny Cash song, his foot tapping along. Jenna notices too. I see her watching, puzzled, as these people she'd categorized as merely old and infirm, transform through music into individuals with histories, with preferences, with joy still accessible. After the session, as we're collecting instruments, Carlos says to her, "Mr. Thompson was a session musician in Nashville, you know. Played with Patsy Cline once." "Really?" Jenna glances at the elderly man now dozing in his wheelchair. "Mrs. Rodriguez was a dance instructor in Havana before coming to the States. And Mr. Dawson? He proposed to his wife at a Peter, Paul and Mary concert in '63. Carlos's smile is kind but pointed. They've lived whole lives before they came here. It's the first of many revelations that day. In the afternoon, I find Jenna in the craft room, helping Mrs. Abernathy, my roommate Eleanor, with a jigsaw puzzle. Eleanor has trapped her there, I can tell, with a steady stream of questions about Jenna's life, punctuated with unfiltered observations about Sunset Gardens. "Your mother's new here, but she's already everyone's favorite," Eleanor is saying as I approach. "Yesterday, she spent an hour reading poetry to blind Mr. Harmon. And the day before, she helped Nurse Nancy change Ruth's bedsheets after the accident. Most family members wouldn't do that for their own mothers, let alone strangers." Jenna looks up, spots me, and there's a flash of something in her eyes. Embarrassment? Shame? Before she masks it with a tight smile. "Mom, Eleanor's been telling me about your popularity." "Eleanor exaggerates," I say, joining them at the puzzle table. "I absolutely do not," my roommate retorts. "I was just about to tell your daughter about how you gave your dessert to Sophie last night because it was her birthday. The kitchen gave her a cupcake," I explain. "But Sophie has dementia. She forgot it was her birthday by dinner. She was so confused when everyone sang to her." "So, your mother," Eleanor continues, fitting a puzzle piece with surprising dexterity, "took her own slice of apple pie, put a candle in it, and went to Sophie's table. Sang to her all over again. Made that woman's whole day." Jenna studies me like I'm a stranger. In some ways, perhaps I am. The mother she knows, the retired literature professor, the widow carefully preserving memories in a too-big house, isn't the same woman who's found unexpected purpose in these halls. "You've only been here a week," Jenna says quietly. "Plenty of time to show your true colors," Eleanor replies before I can. "Some people walk in here and see only what they're losing. Others, like your mother, see what they can still give." She fixes Jenna with those sharp blue eyes. "Which kind are you, I wonder?" The challenge hangs in the air between them. I almost intervene, but something tells me to let Eleanor's words land. That evening after dinner, Jenna follows me back to my room. Eleanor tactfully announces she's going to watch Wheel of Fortune in the common room, leaving us alone. "I don't understand what's happening," Jenna says as soon as the door closes. "Why are you doing this? Working here when you're supposed to be a resident? Living in this tiny room with a stranger? This isn't you, Mom, isn't it?" I sit on my narrow bed. "How would you know, Jenna? You see me once a month for Sunday brunch. You haven't really looked at me in years." The words come out sharper than I intended. Jenna flinches. "That's not fair." "No? When your father died, how often did you check on me? How many times did you offer to help with arrangements, with paperwork, with the thousands of details death leaves behind?" I smooth my bedspread, buying time to steady my voice. "You sent flowers in a casserole, then disappeared back into your life. I was grieving too," she whispers. "Yes, you were. We could have grieved together." I look up at her. this beautiful daughter who somehow slipped away from me. Instead, you treated his death like an inconvenient interruption to your schedule. Tears fill her eyes. Is that what this is about? Punishment? No. I soften my tone. It's about seeing, Jenna. Really seeing the people around you. Your father's watch wasn't just a thing to be sold when you wanted vacation money. The residents here aren't just old bodies waiting to die. I'm not just a mother who exists when you need something. She sinks onto Eleanor's bed, her professional facade crumbling. I didn't think, when I sold the watch, I didn't think it would matter so much. That's the problem. You didn't think. I reach across the space between us, take her hand. But now you have 30 days to start thinking differently. At the old folks' home, she says with a weak smile. At Sunset Gardens, I correct gently, where people have names and stories and dignity, even as their bodies fail them, even as the world forgets them. Jenna looks around the small room, at Eleanor's family photos, at my single picture of Will and me. I still don't understand why you're working here. Because I can, I say simply. Because it matters. She nods slowly, and I see the first crack in her armor, the first sign that Will's plan might actually work. I'll see you tomorrow then? She asks, standing to leave. 8 a.m. sharp. We're helping with breakfast. She grimaces but doesn't argue. At the door, she pauses. Mom, I'm sorry. About the watch. It's a start. Not enough, but a start. I know, I tell her. Day 1 down, 29 to go. By the end of her second week, Jenna has stopped wearing makeup to Sunset Gardens. Her designer clothes have been replaced by practical pants and comfortable shoes. The transformation isn't just external. I catch her sitting with Mr. Thompson during lunch breaks, listening to his stories about Nashville. She spends extra time helping Mrs. Rodriguez with her physical therapy exercises, their hands moving together in slow, deliberate motions. Your daughter's different, Eleanor observes as we prepare for bed on day 15. Less plastic. I smile at my roommate's bluntness. She's trying. She asked me about my husband's today. Actually listened to the answer. Eleanor arranges herself against her pillows with a satisfied sigh. Told her George was the best in bed, Stanley was the best in the kitchen, and Howard was the best with money. A woman needs all three, I said, but rarely finds them in the same man. Eleanor! I laughed despite myself, made her blush like a schoolgirl. Eleanor's eyes twinkle. But then she asked what I missed most about them. No one's asked me that in years. I think about this exchange the next morning as I watch Jenna helping Harold, our resident with advanced Parkinson's. His hands shake so badly he can't bring the spoon to his mouth without spilling. 3 weeks ago, Jenna would have called for an aide, uncomfortable with the intimacy of feeding another adult. Today, she sits beside him, gently guides the spoon, wipes his chin without flinching when he drools. Small bites, Harold, she says, her voice warm. No rush. We've got all morning. I turn away before she catches me watching, something tight and hopeful unfurling in my chest. Will was right. She needed this, to see aging up close, to confront mortality and dignity in the same moment, to provide care without expectation of return. Later that day, Dorothy summons me to her office. She closes the door, her expression serious. We had a situation this morning I thought you should know about. My heart stumbles. Jenna? Yes, but not what you're thinking. Dorothy sits behind her desk. Marcus came by, looking for her. Marcus? The boyfriend. The reason for the Cancun trip. The catalyst for selling Will's watch. What did he want? Said he's been trying to reach her for days. She's not returning his texts, his calls. Dorothy's mouth twitches. He seemed put out that she's spending so much time here. What did Jenna say? That's the interesting part. She told him she was busy, that the residents needed her. Dorothy raises an eyebrow. He didn't take it well. Said something about her wasting her time with dying people when they had property viewings scheduled. My jaw tightens. And your daughter told him to leave. Said if he couldn't understand why this mattered, he couldn't understand her. Dorothy smiles fully now. I don't think we'll be seeing Marcus again. I absorb this, the implications settling like snow, quiet, transformative. Where is she now? Garden detail. Mrs. Patel has her planting tulip bulbs. I find them in the small courtyard garden. Jenna kneeling in dirt, her hands gloved, carefully placing bulbs in holes as Mrs. Patel supervises from her wheelchair. The October sun turns my daughter's hair to copper, the same shade Will's was before it silvered. Not so deep, child, Mrs. Patel instructs. Tulips like to feel the sun through the earth. Jenna adjusts, patting soil more gently. Like this? Better. They'll thank you in spring. I won't be here in spring, Jenna says, and there's a note of regret in her voice that catches me by surprise. No matter. Mrs. Patel waves a gnarled hand. I will see them and think of you. I step back, unnoticed, watching this quiet exchange. Something fundamental has shifted in my daughter. The impatience that always simmered beneath her surface has calmed. The restless ambition that drove her to chase more, newer, better, has quieted, at least temporarily. That evening I find a note slipped under my door when I return from helping serve dinner. Mom, can we talk? Not here, somewhere private. Jenna. We meet in the small chapel off the east wing, rarely used except for Sunday services, empty and quiet now, as twilight deepens outside its stained glass windows. Jenna already sits in the last pew, her head bowed not in prayer but in thought. She looks up when I enter, and I'm struck by how tired she looks. Not the superficial fatigue of someone who stayed out too late, but the bone-deep weariness of someone confronting difficult truths. Dorothy said Marcus came by, I say, sitting beside her. Yes, she sighs. That's over. I'm sorry. I'm not, but it seems the right thing to say. Don't be. He called what I'm doing here a depressing hobby, said I was getting too invested in other people's leftovers. Her voice hardens. Leftovers, like Harold and Mrs. Rodriguez and Mr. Thompson, are just scraps of people. We sit with this for a moment, the chapel's silence wrapping around us. Why did you want to talk? I ask finally. Jenna turns to face me, her eyes suddenly fierce. I need to know something, and I need the truth. No more. Whatever this is you're doing. My pulse quickens. What do you mean? Mrs. Sullivan, your name isn't Wilson. This place costs $7,500 a month minimum. You're not working here to reduce your fees. You're volunteering, same as me. And when I called the realtor about our house, they said it wasn't even on the market yet. Her eyes bore into mine. What's really going on, Mom? The moment stretches between us. I could lie again, maintain the fiction. But looking at my daughter, really seeing her, I know it's time for truth. You're right, I say quietly. I haven't been honest with you. I tell her about the watch, about finding the key, the address, about the cabin in the woods. Dad had a secret place? She interrupts, disbelief coloring her voice. For 45 years. Not for 45 years. Just at the end. I hesitate, then decide to tell her everything. He knew he was dying, Jenna. Before any of us. He kept it from us to protect us. Her face pales. And the cabin is where he prepared for what would happen after. I take a deep breath. There are letters, 43 of them. One for each year he thought I might live after him. And documents. A trust. A trust? Her voice sharpens. What kind of trust? Your father left money, Jenna. Patent royalties from his engineering work. More than I ever knew. She stares at me. How much more? $6 million. The number lands between us like a stone dropped into still water. Ripples of implications spreading outward. 6 million, she whispers. And you're living in Sunset Gardens with a roommate? The trust has conditions. Understanding dawns slowly in her eyes. The 30 days, my volunteering here. That wasn't Dorothy's idea, was it? I shake my head. It was your father's. His condition for releasing the funds. Jenna stands abruptly, paces the small chapel aisle. So this whole thing, you're moving here, pretending to be broke, it was manipulation. A test. I prefer to think of it as an opportunity, I counter, keeping my voice even. Your father knew you, Jenna. Knew you'd lost your way. Knew money without meaning would only make it worse. So instead of just talking to me, you elaborately tricked me? Anger flares. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? Almost as humiliating as discovering your daughter sold your dead husband's treasured possession for a beach vacation? The words escape before I can stop them. Jenna flinches as if I'd slapped her. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. Outside, darkness has fallen completely. The chapel's stained glass has gone black, no longer transmitting light, but reflecting our own faces back at us. There's more, I say finally. A letter, from your father to you. I haven't read it. She turns away, shoulders rigid. When were you planning to tell me all this? After I completed my 30 days of community service? Once I'd proven myself worthy? The bitterness in her voice cuts deep. This isn't how I wanted this conversation to go. I was following your father's plan. I say softly. He was always the strategist between us. And you were always honest, she counters, turning back to face me. Until now. We stare at each other across a gulf that seems unbridgeable in this moment. My daughter and I, connected by blood and history, but separated by hurt, by misunderstanding, by the complicated legacy of the man we both loved. I want to see the letter, she says finally, and the cabin, tomorrow. You still have 2 weeks of volunteering. I'll finish them, she interrupts. I'm not doing this for the money anymore. I'm doing it for Harold and Mrs. Rodriguez and Mr. Thompson. A beat. And for me. I nod, suddenly exhausted but also relieved. The truth is out. Messy. Uncomfortable. But out. Tomorrow then. I agree. I'll take you to the cabin. As we leave the chapel, returning to the brightly lit hallways of Sunset Gardens, Jenna pauses. Does anyone else know? About the trust? The 30 days? Just Dorothy. She's an old friend. She's been helping me. Jenna nods once, processing. And where have you really been living? Not here, I'm guessing. The cabin, I admit. I go there at night, come back each morning. Dorothy covers for me. A flicker of grudging admiration crosses her face. Pretty elaborate scheme for a literature professor. I had a good ghostwriter, I say, thinking of Will, of his careful planning, his faith in both of us. The best. Dawn breaks misty and golden as Jenna's car follows mine along the winding road to Stowe. We drive in separate vehicles, her sleek BMW trailing my sensible Subaru, because she insists on maintaining some independence, some control in this unraveling narrative. The woods are ablaze with autumn, maples and oaks showing off in crimson and gold against the steadfast green of pines. Will always loved Vermont's fall display. Nature's last exuberance, he called it, before the discipline of winter. I slow as we approach the hidden turnoff, checking my rearview mirror to ensure Jenna sees me make the turn onto the narrow dirt path. For a moment, I wonder if she'll follow, if anger will propel her back toward town, away from more revelations. But her car swings in behind mine, headlights cutting through the morning mist. We park in the small clearing. The cabin stands just as I left it last week. Weathered wood, silvering with age, green shutters, smoke curling from the stone chimney where I laid a fire before leaving for Sunset Gardens yesterday. You've been staying here? Jenna asks, stepping out of her car, voice tight with lingering anger. Yes. All alone in the woods? Mom, you're 68. I can't help but smile at her indignation. Your father was fixing this place up for years, apparently. It's comfortable. Safe. She follows me up the steps, hesitating at the threshold as if crossing it means accepting everything that's happened. Finally, she steps inside. The cabin welcomes us with the scent of wood smoke and coffee, the pot I set to brew on a timer before leaving. Morning light streams through east-facing windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in golden shafts. Jenna moves slowly through the space, taking in the bookshelves, the worn leather chair, the small kitchen with its enameled stove. Her fingers trail across surfaces, as if reading Braille, connecting with her father's presence in the whirls of wood grain, the carefully chosen furnishings. He built this place, she says softly, and never told anyone. He made a sanctuary, I correct, somewhere to face what was coming on his own terms. She stops at the mantel, studies the family photos there, duplicates of ones from our home, yet somehow different in this context. How long did he know? That he was dying? About a year, according to his letter. I move to the fireplace, kneel to open the hidden compartment. He had cardiomyopathy, progressive, untreatable. And he told no one? Not even you? I shake my head, feeling again that complicated mix of hurt and understanding, of betrayal and love. He wanted to protect us from a long goodbye. From the compartment, I remove the stack of sealed envelopes, the ones not yet opened, each marked with a future date, and Will's letter to Jenna. I hold it out to her. She stares at the envelope as if it might bite. Her name written in Will's precise engineer's script, the slight smudge in the corner where his left hand would have rested as he wrote. I'm not ready, she says, not taking it. Okay. I set it on the kitchen table, where it sits between us like a visitor waiting to be acknowledged. Coffee? She nods gratefully at this momentary reprieve. We move around each other in the small kitchen, me pouring coffee, her finding cream in the refrigerator, in a dance reminiscent of countless mornings in our family home. So this is where you've been coming at night, she says, cupping her mug with both hands. leaving Sunset Gardens after I go home. Yes, Dorothy's been covering for me. And the money? Where is it? In trust at Brighton Bank, untouched until the conditions are met. Jenna sits at the table, the letter just inches from her elbow. $6 million. She shakes her head in disbelief. Dad never cared about money. How did he even... Patents, I explain, joining her. Apparently, some of his early engineering designs became industry standards. The royalties accumulated. He invested wisely and never told us. There's hurt beneath the words. Never used it to make life easier. Your father believed in earned comfort, not excess. I smile at a memory. Remember how he kept driving that old Volvo, even when the heat only worked on the passenger side? You and I would be toasty warm, and he'd be there with his gloved hands on the wheel, refusing to replace it because it still works fine. A reluctant smile tugs at Jenna's lips. He patched the dashboard with duct tape, so embarrassing when he picked me up from school. He saved where it didn't matter to spend where it did. Your education, the house, his books. I gesture around the cabin. This place, apparently. Jenna's smile fades as her gaze returns to the letter. Slowly, she reaches for it. I was so angry at him when he died, she confesses, turning the envelope in her hands without opening it. He was just gone. No warning. No chance to say things I needed to say. What things? Her eyes fill with tears. That I was sorry for being so distant, for moving away, for bringing home men he couldn't stand and pretending not to notice his disapproval. She wipes at her cheek. For not being the daughter he deserved. My heart aches for her, for the weight she's carried. Jenna, your father adored you. Always. Did he? She looks up, vulnerable in a way I haven't seen since she was small. Even when I disappointed him? Especially then. I reach across the table, cover her hand with mine. He worried for you, not about you. There's a difference, she nods, fingers tracing the seal of the envelope. That's why all this, isn't it? The 30 days at Sunset Gardens, the trust conditions, his last attempt to... She trails off. To help you find your way, I finish gently. Not because he thought you were broken, but because he saw you struggling to connect with what really matters. With a deep breath, Jenna tears open the envelope, unfolds the letter, begins to read. I rise, give her privacy, busying myself at the sink. Behind me I hear the occasional sharp intake of breath, a muffled sob. Through the window, I watch a cardinal land on the woodpile, brilliant red against weathered gray. Will built a bird feeder that hangs from the porch eave. Of course he did. Even in his secret sanctuary, he thought of nurturing other creatures. Mom. Jenna's voice is thick with tears. I turn to find her standing, the letter clutched in her hand. You need to read this. I take the pages from her, noting how her hand trembles. Will's familiar handwriting fills the sheets, the slight backward slant, the precise spacing, the way his G's curl with an extra loop. My eyes catch phrases as I scan. Proud of your strength. Never doubted your heart. Lost your way. The money means nothing if, and finally, the lines that must have broken her open. Forgive an old man's manipulations. I know no other way to reach you from beyond. Remember that everything I've done, the cabin, the trust, the conditions, comes from love. And love, Jenna girl, is the only legacy that matters. When I look up, my daughter stands before me transformed, not by the promise of inheritance, but by the weight of forgiveness freely given. He knew me so well, she whispers, better than I knew myself. He was your father, I say simply. It was his job to see you, even the parts you tried to hide. She steps forward, and suddenly we're embracing. My tall, strong daughter folding herself against me like she did as a child after nightmares. I hold her as she cries, her tears soaking into my shoulder, her body shaking with the release of grief, too long deferred. I've been so lost, she murmurs against my neck, so focused on having things that I stopped caring about people. About you. She pulls back, meets my eyes. I'm sorry about the watch. God, I'm so sorry. I know. I brush hair from her damp cheek. And I'm sorry too, for the deception, for not trusting you with the truth. You were following his plan. Yes, but maybe we both needed to find our own way through this. I gesture to the cabin around us, to the life Will created in secret. He gave us the map, but the journey, that's ours. Jenna nods, wipes her eyes. So what now? I smile, feeling lighter than I have in weeks. Now, we finish your 30 days at Sunset Gardens, not for the money, but because there's work still to be done there. People who need us. And after? I think of Eleanor, of Harold, of all the residents who've become part of our lives these past weeks. After we decide what legacy we want to build with what your father left us. All of what he left us, not just the money. Jenna looks around the cabin one more time, taking in this place where her father faced his mortality alone, where he crafted his final gift to us both. He'd want us to use it well, she says finally, to make a difference. Yes, I agree, thinking of Will's practical generosity, his quiet conviction. That's exactly what he'd want. As we prepare to leave, Jenna pauses at the door, looking back at her father's letter on the table. Can I keep it? The letter? Of course, it's yours. She folds it carefully, tucks it into her purse. You know, for a literature professor and an engineer, we're not very good at communication, are we? All these secrets, these unspoken feelings. I laugh softly. Perhaps that's our next project then. Learning to speak our truths while we still can. Together, we step out into the autumn morning, locking the cabin behind us. As we walk to our cars, Jenna looks up at the canopy of color overhead. Dad loved fall, she says. Nature's last exuberance, I quote, before the discipline of winter. She smiles, recognizing his words. He was right about so many things. Yes, I agree. Watching my daughter's face in the dappled sunlight, he really was. The final 2 weeks of Jenna's volunteering at Sunset Gardens take on a different quality, now that truth has replaced deception. I've moved officially into the facility, my mysterious nocturnal departures no longer necessary, taking up permanent residence with Eleanor, who declares herself delighted to have a roommate with all her marbles for a change. Today marks day 28 of Jenna's 30-day commitment. I watch from the doorway of the craft room as she helps Mr. Thompson with his painting, his hands too unsteady to manage the brushes alone, her hands steadying his, guiding the colors across canvas. A little more blue there, he instructs, his voice stronger than his body. That's it. Now blend it with the white. See how it makes the sky come alive? Jenna follows his directions, her focus complete. The woman who once couldn't sit still through a family dinner without checking her phone now spends hours in slow, patient collaboration with hands that have known 89 years of work and wear. My daughter used to paint with me, Mr. Thompson says, his voice dropping to a whisper. Before she got too busy, too important for her old dad. I see Jenna's shoulders tense slightly. When did you last see her? 5 years ago? Maybe 6? He shrugs, the movement barely perceptible. Christmas cards, birthday calls that get shorter every year. Have you tried calling her? Jenna asks. Mr. Thompson's laugh holds more sorrow than humor. Tried, left messages. She's always about to call back, always just heading into a meeting, always promising soon. The parallel isn't lost on Jenna. I see her swallow hard, continue blending colors. What's her name? Your daughter? She asks. Margaret. Maggie when she was little. His roomy eyes focus on some middle distance, seeing a child long grown. Smartest girl. Could have done anything. Chose business. Makes more money than I ever saw in my lifetime. But doesn't have time to visit. Jenna finishes softly. Time. Mr. Thompson nods slowly. Funny thing about time. When you're young, you think it's endless. Spend it like water. When you're old, every minute becomes precious. But by then, no one has time for you anymore. The painting takes shape beneath their collaborative hands. A Vermont landscape in autumn, mountains ablaze with color reflected in a still lake. There's real talent in the composition, in the play of light across water. Talent going unused in this place of forgotten people. Later, Jenna finds me in the garden, where I'm helping Mrs. Patel prepare her beloved roses for winter. Did you know Mr. Thompson was a professional artist? Jenna asks without preamble. I straighten, wincing as my back protests. Yes, he has some paintings in galleries in Burlington still, I believe. And Mrs. Rodriguez was a dance instructor? And Harold was some kind of physicist before Parkinson's took his mobility? I nod, brushing dirt from my gloves. Yes, all these accomplished, talented people just warehoused here. Anger edges her voice. Their families visit maybe once a month, if at all. They're just killing time until... She doesn't finish the thought. Doesn't need to. That's how our society works, I say gently. We celebrate youth, productivity, beauty. We hide away aging, decline, death. It's wrong. Jenna's conviction surprises me with its intensity. Mom, it's so wrong. These people have so much to give still, so much to teach. Mrs. Patel looks up from her roses, her gnarled hands stilling. You sound like your mother now, she observes with a smile. When she first came, she said the same thing. Jenna flushes slightly, then laughs. I guess wisdom runs in the family. Speaking of family, I say, helping Mrs. Patel to her feet. Have you talked to Allie lately? Jenna's face clouds, briefly. She's still angry at me for abandoning her to volunteer here. 17-year-olds aren't known for their understanding. Bring her, Mrs. Patel suggests, brushing dirt from her pants. Let her see what her mother has been doing. Young people fear what they don't understand. Show her, and the fear becomes knowledge. That evening, Jenna and I sit in Dorothy's office, reviewing the documents for the trust. The 30 days are nearly complete, and soon the funds will be released. $6 million, Jenna says, still sounding incredulous. What are we going to do with it? Dorothy slides another folder across her desk. If I might make a suggestion, inside are financial statements for Sunset Gardens, operating costs, staffing budgets, revenue projections. The bottom line is highlighted in alarming red. You're losing money, Jenna observes. Hemorrhaging it, Dorothy confirms grimly. Corporate wants to convert more rooms to the premium tier, private suites at twice the cost, fewer staff, more profit. Those who can't afford it would be transferred to state facilities. State facilities? I think of Eleanor, of Harold, of Mr. Thompson and his paintings. But that would separate couples, friends, people who've built community here. That's not their concern, Dorothy says, her mouth a tight line. Sunset Gardens was family-owned when I started. Got bought by Health First Senior Living 3 years ago. They've got 20 facilities across New England, all being squeezed for profit. Jenna studies the numbers, her marketing director's mind clearly processing possibilities. What's the purchase price for a place like this? Dorothy names a figure that makes me catch my breath. $4 million, minimum, plus operating capital to stay afloat during transition. So, $6 million, give or take. Jenna looks up at me, something kindling in her eyes. Mom? The idea blooms between us, unspoken but perfectly clear. Will's legacy, repurposed for something he would have approved of wholeheartedly. We'd need to research, I caution, even as excitement builds. Learn about regulations, staffing requirements, Medicare billing. We'd need a medical director, a compliance officer, Dorothy adds. And a marketing strategy, Jenna interjects, completely different from the corporate model, community-focused, family-integrated. She's animated now, leaning forward, not a place where people are sent to be forgotten, a place where community forms, where wisdom is valued, like the original meaning of elder, I suggest, someone whose experience is treasured, not dismissed. We talk late into the evening, possibilities expanding like ripples in still water. By the time we finish, the outlines of a plan have emerged, audacious, challenging, but strangely right, as if Will had known all along what his money might ultimately build. The next morning, day 29, Jenna arrives with Allie in tow. My granddaughter slouches behind her mother, the picture of teenage reluctance in ripped jeans and an oversized hoodie, her copper hair, so like Will's, partially hiding her face. Grandma? She accepts my hug stiffly. Mom says I have to spend the day here? Just a few hours, I assure her. There's someone I'd like you to meet. I introduce her to Mr. Thompson, currently working alone in the craft room on his latest canvas. Allie is quite the artist, I tell him. She won the regional competition last spring with her digital work. Mr. Thompson squints at my granddaughter with new interest. Digital, eh? Never got the hang of all that computer drawing myself. Show me what you do? To my surprise, Allie pulls out her phone without protest, scrolls to find examples of her work. Mr. Thompson peers at the small screen, genuine appreciation dawning on his face. Well, I'll be. That's something special, young lady. The composition, the use of contrast. He looks up at her. You've got a real eye. The compliment penetrates Allie's teenage armor. She straightens slightly. Thanks. It's just, a hobby. Hobbies keep us human, Mr. Thompson says. When I was working, commercial illustrations, nothing fancy, I painted landscapes on weekends to stay sane. Now it's all I have left. He gestures to his current work. My hands shake too much to do it properly anymore. Allie studies his canvas, a half-completed forest scene, the brush strokes uneven where he's worked alone. Maybe, she begins hesitantly, maybe I could help? I'm better with traditional media than people think. I slip away, leaving them to their artistic exchange. Find Jenna at the nurse's station, reviewing medication schedules with Nancy. Ally and Mr. Thompson? She asks when she sees me. Already deep in conversation about perspective and light sources, I confirm. Jenna smiles, something easing in her expression. Good. She needs to see this place, understand what we're planning. Have you told her? About the money, the trust? Not yet. I wanted her to see Sunset Gardens first, to understand why it matters. I nod, thinking how far my daughter has come in 29 days, from selling her father's watch for vacation money to planning how to use millions to preserve the dignity of elders. One more day, I say. Then the real work begins. Jenna's phone buzzes. She checks it, her expression darkening. Marcus again? No. She shows me the screen. An incoming call from Margaret Thompson according to the display. Mr. Thompson's daughter. I found her number in his file. Called her yesterday. Didn't think she'd actually respond. The call goes to voicemail before Jenna can answer. She stares at the phone, then at me. Something like wonder crossing her face. Mom, I think I just became the daughter I was lecturing someone else about being. I smile, remembering Will's words from his letter. Love is the only legacy that matters. Your father would be so proud of you right now, I tell her. So am I. Today's the day, Eleanor announces as I dress for breakfast, her bright eyes watching me from her bed. Your grand deception reaches its finale. I smooth my cardigan, checking my appearance in our shared mirror. It wasn't a deception so much as an educational experience, Eleanor cackles. Call it what you want. You and your husband orchestrated quite the morality play. She softens, her voice dropping. And it worked. Your girl's different now. We all see it. It's true. In 30 days, Jenna has transformed. Not just in how she dresses or speaks, but in how she sees. She notices now when Mrs. Rodriguez struggles with her water glass, when Mr. Dawson needs an arm to steady him in the hallway, when Harold retreats into himself after a frustrating physical therapy session. She anticipates needs before they're expressed, remembers preferences, listens to the same stories without impatience when memories circle back on themselves. Will would be pleased, I say, pinning my hair back. Will would be smug as hell, Eleanor corrects with a grin. Men always are when they're right. I laugh, grateful for my roommate's unvarnished perspective. Are you ready for the meeting today? Eleanor's expression turns serious. Born ready, honey. Been rehearsing what I'll say all night. The meeting, our meeting, is scheduled for 2 p.m. in the Sunset Gardens community room. Dorothy has arranged everything. The residents who wish to attend, the legal representative from Brighton Trust who will officially declare Jenna's 30-day condition fulfilled, and the real estate agent who will present the preliminary offer for the facility. It's day 30, the culmination of Will's plan, though evolved into something he couldn't have foreseen. Jenna arrives early, bringing Allie with her again. My granddaughter looks different today. Her copper hair pulled back, wearing a simple blouse instead of her usual hoodie, carrying a large portfolio case. For Mr. Thompson, she explains when she sees me looking. Digital prints of his paintings. I scanned and enhanced them yesterday, fixed the tremors in the brushstrokes like he asked. That's thoughtful, Allie. She shrugs, but I catch the small smile she tries to hide. He's actually really good, like legitimately good. His work should be seen. Behind her, Jenna mouths thank you to me over Allie's head. Something has shifted between mother and daughter these past 2 days. A new understanding, a tentative bridge being built. By 1:30, residents begin gathering in the community room. Not just the more active ones like Eleanor and Mr. Thompson, but others too. Harold in his specialized wheelchair, Mrs. Rodriguez with her aide, Mr. Dawson moving slowly with his walker. Even Sophie, who remembers some days better than others, arrives early to secure a front row seat. What's this meeting about? She asks me, her cloudy eyes concerned. Are they closing us down? I pat her hand. No, Sophie. Just the opposite, I hope. At exactly 2 p.m., Dorothy calls the room to attention. Beside her stand a distinguished man in a charcoal suit, Mr. Palmer from Brighton Trust, and a woman with a leather portfolio, Cynthia Wells from Eastern Vermont Realty. Thank you all for coming, Dorothy begins. Today marks a significant moment for Sunset Gardens. As some of you know, our corporate owners have been considering changes to our facility, changes that would impact many of you. Murmurs ripple through the room. Not everyone has heard about the potential sale, the shift to premium-only accommodations. However, Dorothy continues, we have a rather unexpected development to share. She gestures to Jenna and me, seated in the front row. Mrs. Lauren Sullivan and her daughter Jenna would like to address you all. Jenna squeezes my hand as we rise together, facing the gathered residents, our newfound community. I see uncertainty in some faces, curiosity in others, and in Eleanor's barely contained glee at being party to our secret. Many of you know me as Lauren Wilson, I begin. That was not entirely accurate. My name is Lauren Sullivan. This is my daughter, Jenna Carlson, and we have a story to share with you. Together we tell them about Will's watch and the hidden key, about the cabin and the letters, about the trust and its 30-day condition, about how what began as a lesson in values for a wayward daughter transformed into something larger, more meaningful. Today marks the completion of those 30 days, Jenna explains, her voice steady and sure. The trust fund my father established will be released, and we've made a decision about how to use that money. Mr. Palmer steps forward, officially confirming that the terms have been met. The Sullivan Trust is now active, he announces. The beneficiaries have full access to the funds, approximately $6 million. Gasps ripple through the room. $6 million is a fortune to people who measure their lives in small Social Security checks and Medicare allowances. Cynthia Wells unfolds a large document on a side table, and I can confirm that Health First Senior Living has expressed interest in the purchase offer for this facility, pending final negotiation of terms. More murmurs, confusion now mixing with concern. Harold's aide leans down to explain what's happening, while Sophie clutches Mrs. Rodriguez's hand, whispering urgently. I step forward, raising my hands for quiet. Let me be clear about what this means. My daughter and I, along with a board of advisors that will include some of you, are purchasing Sunset Gardens. The room erupts. Questions, exclamations, disbelief. Not to continue business as usual, Jenna adds quickly, but to transform it, to create the kind of place my father would have wanted for his wife, for himself, for all of you. Eleanor wheels herself forward, joining us at the front of the room. I've seen their plans, folks, she announces, her voice cutting through the commotion. And as your unofficial but entirely self-appointed representative, I approve. Laughter breaks the tension. Eleanor has that effect, her blunt charm disarming even the most anxious situations. We're calling it the Will Sullivan House, I continue when the room quiets. Not just an assisted living facility, but a true community, where families don't just visit but participate, where wisdom is shared across generations, where no one is forgotten. Jenna takes over, outlining our vision. Lower costs for residents through the Trust's subsidy, family involvement requirements for all residents, art therapy, music programs, and education initiatives bringing younger people into regular contact with elders, dignified medical care that respects autonomy, and most importantly, a community model that recognizes the ongoing contributions of its eldest members. Mr. Thompson's art will be featured in a permanent gallery in the main hall, she says, nodding to him. Mrs. Rodriguez will help design a dance therapy program. Harold's expertise in physics will inform science programs we'll offer to local schools. As she speaks, I watch the faces around us, skepticism giving way to cautious hope, then to genuine excitement. These people, so accustomed to diminishing horizons, suddenly glimpse new possibilities. We can't do this alone, I add when Jenna finishes. We'll need your help. Your ideas, your wisdom, your participation in creating something new. Eleanor raises her hand. I volunteer to be on that advisory board. Someone needs to keep you two honest. Mr. Thompson raises his trembling hand next. I'd like to help too, if you'll have me. One by one, hands rise. Harold's shakily. Mrs. Rodriguez's determined. Mr. Dawson's tentative but present. Dorothy steps forward, visibly moved. I think it's fair to say you have your advisory board, Mrs. Sullivan. Mr. Palmer clears his throat. There are many details to work through. Legal structures, operational transitions, regulatory approvals. This won't happen overnight. We understand, Jenna acknowledges. But we're committed to this path. My father taught me, her voice catches. My father taught me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in how we care for one another. As the meeting dissolves into excited conversations, Allie approaches, her portfolio under her arm. So we're like buying this place? With Grandpa's money? That's the plan, I confirm, watching her expression carefully. She considers this, her 17-year-old face serious beyond her years. So instead of using it for, I don't know, a beach house or whatever, we're using it for old people? These old people have names, Jenna reminds her gently, and stories, and wisdom we need. Allie looks across the room to where Mr. Thompson sits, examining the prints she brought him, his gnarled fingers tracing the enhanced lines of his own work, wonder evident on his face. Yeah, she says slowly. I guess they do. She hesitates. Can I help? With the art stuff, maybe? Mr. Thompson's been teaching me about brush techniques. We'd love your help, I tell her, heart full at this glimpse of the compassionate young woman emerging beneath the teenage exterior. As the afternoon progresses, I find a quiet moment to slip away. In a corner of the garden, I take out Will's watch, the Patek Philippe that started this journey. Its weight is familiar in my palm, its ticking a steady heartbeat, connecting past to present. We did it, Will, I whisper to the autumn air. Not exactly as you planned, perhaps, but I think you'd approve of the improvisation. The watch gleams in the late afternoon sunlight, its hands sweeping steadily forward, marking not just hours and minutes, but the beginning of something Will never could have anticipated when he hid that small key in its secret compartment. A legacy larger than money, more enduring than property. A legacy of connection, of recognition, of dignity preserved. The watch keeps ticking in my palm, steady as a heartbeat, moving forward, always forward, into whatever time remains. 6 months pass in a whirlwind of paperwork, meetings, renovations, and reinvention. The Will Sullivan House, no longer Sunset Gardens, has transformed not just in name, but in spirit. The walls have been repainted in warm colors chosen by the resident advisory board. The institutional cafeteria has been replaced with a communal dining space where residents, staff, and family members share meals at round tables. The sterile activity room has become an art studio, a library, and a music room, separate spaces that honor individual interests. Most importantly, the atmosphere has shifted. There is purpose here now, a sense that this is not a way station before death, but a vital community where elders contribute, teach, and continue to grow. I stand at the window of what was once Dorothy's office, now a shared space where residents and staff collaborate on house matters. April sunlight streams through new windows, illuminating the courtyard garden where Mrs. Patel's tulips, planted by Jenna last fall, have burst into vibrant bloom. Penny for your thoughts, says a voice behind me. Eleanor, her wheelchair now customized with a colorful hand-painted design created by Allie and Mr. Thompson's collaborative art program. Just marveling at how much has changed, I tell my friend, who is no longer my roommate now that the double rooms have been converted to singles, but who remains my closest confidant. For the better, she declares. Though I still think the food could use improvement. I've told that chef a dozen times that his meatloaf needs more seasoning. I laugh. Eleanor's forthright opinions have made her a valuable member of the advisory board, even if the young chef occasionally hides when he sees her approaching. Where's that daughter of yours? She asks, wheeling beside me to look out at the garden. I haven't seen her today. Meeting in Stowe, I explain. The bank that holds the cabin mortgage. She's finalizing the paperwork. We've kept the cabin, Will's secret sanctuary, but with new purpose. It will become a retreat space, a place where families can stay while visiting residents, where staff can decompress, where the intergenerational programs we've developed can host nature experiences beyond the facility grounds. Smart woman, your daughter, Eleanor observes. Never thought I'd say that, considering how she was when she first came here selling watches for vacation money. People change, I say, thinking of Jenna's transformation. From reluctant volunteer to passionate advocate, from self-absorbed consumer to community builder, when given the chance to see themselves clearly. Speaking of change, Eleanor says, gesturing toward the entrance where Dorothy is greeting a visitor, a woman in her 50s with a familiar posture. Isn't that Margaret Thompson? It is indeed. Mr. Thompson's long-absent daughter has become a regular visitor over these past months. Her initial guilt at Jenna's outreach call having evolved into genuine reconnection with her father. Today she carries a large flat package wrapped in brown paper, a painting, most likely, for the growing Thompson Gallery that now lines our main corridor. Another for the collection, I note with satisfaction. Good thing too, Eleanor says. Thomas won't be with us forever. already outlived the doctor's predictions by 3 months. Mr. Thompson's cancer diagnosis came just as our renovations began. Terminal, the doctor said, 3 months at most, but surrounded by renewed purpose, by his daughter's presence, by young artists like Allie who seek his mentorship. He has defied those predictions. Each day, he sits in the studio, hands shaking, but spirit steady, creating one more canvas, sharing one more technique, leaving one more piece of himself behind. "Lauren!" Dorothy waves me over. "Jenna's on the phone, says it's important." I hurry to the office, pick up the receiver. "Jenna, everything okay?" "Better than okay." My daughter's voice brims with excitement. "I just left the bank. Mom, you won't believe what I found." "What is it?" "Another letter. From Dad. In the safe deposit box where he kept the property deed." She pauses, and I can hear the rustle of paper. It's addressed to both of us. Dated for today. My heart stumbles in my chest. Today? How could he possibly? I don't know. But the envelope says, "To be opened April 15th, 2025, 6 months after the trust activation." That's today, Mom. Exactly today. Will. My brilliant, methodical, forward-thinking Will. Somehow planning not just for the trust's activation, but for what might come after. "Don't open it," I say quickly. "Bring it here. We'll read it together." I'm already on my way. I hang up the phone, my mind racing. What final message did Will leave for us? What could he possibly have anticipated about our lives 6 months after his carefully constructed plan unfolded? Good news or bad? Eleanor asks as I return to the window. "I'm not sure," I admit. "Another letter from Will, one we didn't know about." Eleanor nods sagely. "That husband of yours, always one step ahead, wasn't he? Sometimes I think he knew me better than I knew myself. The best ones do," she says, patting my hand. My Howard was like that. Could predict what I'd want for dinner before I knew I was hungry. We sit together in companionable silence, watching the garden where residents and staff work side by side, planting summer vegetables in raised beds designed for accessibility. Harold, his Parkinson's somewhat stabilized by an experimental treatment we helped him access, supervises from his wheelchair, explaining optimal planting patterns with the precision of the physicist he once was. Jenna arrives an hour later, slightly breathless, her cheeks flushed with the excitement of discovery. She finds me in the library, where I've been helping Mrs. Rodriguez select audiobooks for her limited vision. "Did you bring it?" I ask. She holds up an envelope, cream-colored stationery, Will's distinctive handwriting on the front. We excuse ourselves, find a quiet corner of the garden to sit. Spring surrounds us. New leaves, fresh blooms, the smell of recently turned earth. "Should I read it?" Jenna asks, turning the envelope in her hands. I nod, not trusting my voice. She carefully breaks the seal, unfolds a single sheet of paper, and begins to read aloud. "My dearest Lauren and Jenna, if you're reading this letter, then the plan worked. The trust conditions were met. The 30 days were completed. But more importantly, you two found your way back to each other, and perhaps to yourselves. I'm writing this 6 months before my heart is expected to give out, imagining a future I won't see. In that future, I hope you've used what I left behind, not just money, but the lessons written between the lines, to build something meaningful. I don't know what shape that meaning has taken. Perhaps Jenna has learned to value connection over acquisition. Perhaps Lauren has found purpose beyond loss. Perhaps you've both discovered that the most valuable inheritance isn't counted in dollars. Whatever path you've chosen, know this: I am proud. Proud of the wife who taught me that literature isn't just on pages, but lived in moments of grace and forgiveness. Proud of the daughter whose fierce heart sometimes led her astray, but would, I always believed, find its true compass again. My time with you was the greatest treasure of my life. What you do with the time that remains is your treasure to discover. All my love, Will P.S. The watch was never just a timepiece. It was a reminder that while we cannot stop time, we can choose how we spend it. Choose wisely, my loves. Every tick is precious. Tears stream down Jenna's face as she finishes reading. My own vision blurs as I take the letter from her, tracing Will's handwriting with my fingertips, as if I might feel his presence in the indentations of pen on paper. "How did he know?" Jenna whispers. "How could he possibly have known what we would do with the money?" "He didn't," I realize, understanding blooming like the tulips around us. "He just knew us, knew that given the chance to truly see, to see each other, to see what matters. We would make the right choice. Jenna takes my hand, her fingers warm against mine. The Will Sullivan house. Do you think he'd be pleased? I look around at what we've created. Not just a building with a new name, but a community where elders are valued, where wisdom is exchanged across generations, where Allie now comes willingly each weekend to work on art projects with Mr. Thompson, where Margaret reconnected with her father before it was too late, where Harold found not just care, but purpose. Beyond pleased, I tell her. I think he'd be astonished at what his watch has built. From my pocket, I take the Patek Philippe, restored, polished, still keeping perfect time. In the months since our journey began, I've worn it every day, a tangible connection to Will. But today feels different, a completion of sorts. Your father once told me that a Patek Philippe is never truly owned, I say, holding the watch out to Jenna. It's merely looked after for the next generation. She stares at the watch, understanding the significance of the gesture. Mom, no, it's your connection to him. I don't need the watch for that connection anymore, I tell her, placing it in her palm. I see him every day in what we've built here, in the lives we're touching, in you. Jenna's fingers close around the timepiece, tears spilling freely now. What if I lose it, or break it, or... You won't, I say with certainty. You understand its value now, not its price, its value. She nods, carefully fastening it around her wrist. The watch, too large for her, slides slightly, but she adjusts it with reverence. Time, she says softly, echoing Will's words. We can't stop it, but we can choose how we spend it. And who we spend it with, I add, taking her hand again. Together, we walk back toward the house that bears Will's name. Not just a memorial to what was lost, but a living testament to what can be found when value is measured not in dollars, but in dignity, in connection, in time well spent. The watch ticks steadily on Jenna's wrist, marking not an ending, but a continuation. The legacy that matters most, the one that cannot be bought or sold, lives on in every moment we choose compassion over convenience, wisdom over waste, presence over presence. Will's greatest gift wasn't the $6 million. It was the time he gave us to discover what truly matters, before it was too late.